Welcome to The Real Truth. My name is Tommy Spina. Today's guest is Jeff Brumlow. Jeff and I have known each other for probably 20 plus years.
Yep, sounds about right.
Through the legal business. Jeff is a lawyer in Shelby County primarily, but works, I'm sure, around a variety of counties like most lawyers do in the state of Alabama. He's also the prosecutor for the city of Alabaster, which is where we come to see each other. Occasionally I'll come out when I feel the need to be seen. Welcome to our show, Jeff.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here, to be a part of this.
Well, you're here because we want to talk about what used to be the Birmingham Waterworks Board, that is now the Central Alabama Water Authority. Is that
Central Alabama Water? It's just
period.
Just period.
CAW.
CAW.
Okay, you don't have the word authority. I see that. See, I'm on the airport authority.
Well, the technical name is the City of Birmingham Water Board. Okay, the City of Birmingham Regional Water Board. We do business as Central Alabama Water.
Well, the technical name makes more sense to me, but we're going to talk about that.
Sure.
So just to get warmed up to what's going on here, how did you end up in the position that you're in?
I've asked myself that same question many times. I was a Shelby County Commissioner. I was on the Shelby County Commission.
I didn't know that.
My house got districted into District 7. I was District 6 with the redistricting from 2020. And Lindsay Allison, a dear friend, you know Lindsay, dear friend of mine, has been county commissioner for District 7 for 34 years and does a fantastic job. So I had no thoughts of running after that because Lindsay and I have been friends. She actually sat next to me on the commission. And I told her after I left, I said, if I can ever come back and help the county, let me know because I'm all about helping Shelby County. Little did I know that 6 months later they would call and say, hey, would you be willing to do this gig for us? And I said, what gig? and she just said, we really think you'd be good on the new water board that's being formed through the legislature. And I said, if you guys want me to serve, the commission wants me to serve, I'm happy to serve in that capacity because there's about 25,000 people in Shelby County that are on Central Alabama Water. At least that's our best estimate. And when I was on the commission, the number one complaint from various areas, not in my district, mainly in Lindsay's district and Kevin's, was water bills. Mm-hmm. We had a meeting where I was at a town hall, and the folks from Highland Lakes came and were just yelling.
Blown away by the sewer component of it, I'm sure.
Well, both water and sewer. And, I was on the commission at the time, so I didn't have access to a lot of stuff. Butch Burbage was there at that meeting and was able to talk some about it and talk to it. And Butch is a good guy. I know Butch. But they had there was numerous complaints from that, and said, if I can make a difference, I want to make a difference, and that's my whole goal, is to make a difference.
And from there, you got appointed by the county commission.
Got appointed by the county commission,
which is what the state legislation provided for.
Correct.
So that's one of the complaints that the city of Birmingham has. First of all, say those words again you used to describe the you said it was called something, but we do business as
the City of Birmingham Regional Water Board.
So that raises my question, and raises lots of people's questions, that it's Birmingham's water, is what I'm being told, and that 80% of the consumers of Birmingham's water are Birminghamians. And yet, I'm officed in Birmingham but live in Vestavia, have 2/7 Birmingham does of the representation on the board. And that doesn't sit well with Birminghamians in authority, primarily our mayor. And I get what he says and why he says it. And I'm wondering if you can explain how that might be that way. I know the legislative body that set this up was on a mission to do something.
And I was not a part of any of that whatsoever. I didn't even know the bill was pending until I got a call and said, "Hey, would you be willing to serve?" So,
well, it just seems odd to me. I know you do not serve with pay. Isn't that correct?
No, the statute provides for $2,000 a month.
Oh,
and that's it. No more.
All right. Before that, there was a different pay structure.
There was a different pay structure before. There's actually, it just dropped today. The Alabama Department of Public Accounting dropped their findings today, and one of those findings was that board members were being paid for non-attendance.
Under the old board.
Under the old board. Under the old board. That was one of the findings that they found in their review, their published review. But the new statute just says this is it.
Well, the biggest, I'm told, I don't know exactly what role he has, but Jim Carnes is somehow involved in pushing this legislation.
Jim Carnes is in the state house. So yeah, I think he was part of that legislative delegation that pushed it.
And so it gets passed, and because we live in the great state of Alabama that doesn't do things like a lot of states, we don't have home rule. Therefore, our state can enact a law that affects a very limited part of the state. And this would be one of those laws, I think.
Yes, I think when you look at it, though, Tommy, it is a regional water bill. It is not directed directly at Birmingham, but Birmingham's the only one, the Birmingham Water Works Board was the only one that falls into that scenario at this time. Could be another group's going to fall into that scenario at a different time. Huntsville area, for instance. Of course, Huntsville has their own water department. It's part of the city up there. It's not a board.
So what does the board do?
Board sets policy. That's all the board does. That's all the board should ever do is set policy. And so, since May 7th, since we were appointed, we're trying to figure out what the policies are so that we can
or create
policies that make sense. We've uncovered's not the right word. I don't want to use that word.
Discovered.
We've discovered. Yeah, I think we've discovered areas that were lacking in oversight, and practices that don't make a lot of sense, that need to be changed, which led to a lot of the problems.
The problems that needed to be changed, or the policies that needed to be changed, led to a lot of the problems.
The lack of policies led to a lot of the problems. Okay. For instance, one of the findings in today's audit that was released today was that there was no inventory control system whatsoever. So you could buy a bunch of copper and nobody checked it in or out, which is how we got into the scenario where copper was being stolen and taken to a copper recycling plant. That was back in June that was discovered. They had over 40 purchasing cards that were never reconciled. So 40 employees out in the city had purchasing cards.
When you say purchasing card, like a credit card?
Like a credit card.
But the bill goes to the waterworks.
Correct. And they could get anything from meals to tools or whatever, but there was never an inventory of those items, ever.
Or an accounting or an
accounting, correct.
Did they address that in their findings
They did.
today?
They addressed that in their findings today.
Is the Ethics Commission lurking out there?
I have not heard that they are. So I can't answer that question. I'm not aware of anything like that. What Alabama discovered Department of Public Accounting, what they discovered was just some pretty serious mismanagement. And when we had policies, they weren't followed. So, for instance, one of the findings they have in there is a former executive left, and the policy was when you leave, you don't get paid for sick leave. Okay, you don't get that. It's a written policy. Somehow, without board approval, this executive was paid $245,000 for sick leave upon his departure. Those are the kind of things that just oversight, just good oversight, and adherence to
I imagine
policies.
that's one example of many.
Yes, I would think that. We discovered an issue just this past board meeting where there is a policy that around Christmas time, we will buy back any vacation time you have over 80 hours. That's to the tune of about $650,000 this year.
So if you don't use it,
We buy it back.
you buy it back instead of losing it
Correct.
or taking it.
But stop and think about that for a second. What's the purpose of vacation?
You get away,
Get away and rest and relax. Why do?
unless you're a lawyer.
Yeah, you got that right.
A lawyer's job is never done.
I've been in Portugal and get a phone call. Usually 3 a.m.
Portugal's nice.
Portugal's
a lot of
lovely.
Americans are expatriating
I
there.
love Portugal. Wonderful, wonderful country. But vacation is a time where you're gone and somebody else is doing your work. They're filling in for you. Well, when somebody's filling in for you, what can they spot? Things that are not being done right. Why does a bank make tellers take their vacation
So they can send somebody in there behind them
and count their till?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like the criminal case where the teller takes $1,000 intending to put it back, but never puts it back and ends up $40,000 later
Yeah.
being charged with a crime.
Yeah. We want vacation for positive reasons, but there's also oversight reasons that you have that. So that's a policy we have got to change. It's never been a written policy to do it. They just done it.
Yeah, but does that employee have to have the expertise that the employee that's taking the vacation? They would have to have a similar skill set.
I would hope so. I would hope that there's some redundancy in the system and that we're training up employees, that we're creating a culture and environment where employees want to stay long-term and look toward that advancement in there.
How many do y'all have? Do you know?
I think the budget calls for a little over 700. I think there's about 640, 650.
So y'all are hiring?
No, let me address that for a second. No.
I would think not.
I think we're overstaffed. I mean, clearly, Tommy, I think we're overstaffed. The new CEO that we hired, Jeff Thompson, he was COO, all right, Chief Operating Officer of DC Water, 2 million customers. We got about 770,000. A little over 400 employees, and they do both water and sewer. How are we
In
staffed
DC?
so high? In DC. In DC.
Well, since you brought him up, let's talk about him because he used to be with Birmingham.
He did. He was.
And one of the complaints that I've heard is that he was sent away under some circumstances that no one really knows, but included in those circumstances was a do not return verbiage in some sort of document. And I may not be right about that.
Yeah, and I've not seen a document that says that, Tommy.
Well, I paraphrase.
I've heard people talk about it. So my first question when somebody says that is, how did you get inside of our personnel files? Who broke into our personnel files and pulled that out? Somebody.
Not me.
Did. I know what you, Tommy. I know what you. Somebody violated our personnel files.
But let's not overlook. Let's assume that there is language in there and that somebody did violate your privacy and get into your personnel files. The entire search committee, the complaint has been, didn't do a lot of what I would call due diligence or vetting in hiring him particularly to the exclusion of others that may have wanted the job. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know either. I was not a part of that search committee. My understanding is they were able to watch 10 or 12 interviews that were conducted of different candidates. And
via Zoom or something?
Yeah, I think so. And that of those, Jeff kind of stood out in that.
Well, who hired him? I mean, I'm on the airport authority. I mean,
the whole board hired him. I mean, there's
but you based it on the recommendation of your search committee.
The chairman, actually.
The chairman of the
board
and the chairman CAW.
Correct.
Who was on the search committee?
Tommy Hudson, who's our chairman, Philip Widmer, who is our vice chair, and David Standridge, who's a board member.
Are any of those people connected to Birmingham proper?
Well, you mean in the city of Birmingham?
Yeah.
Because I want to go back and address something in just a second for you on the Birmingham issue.
We're feeling, those that are Birminghamians, I keep saying we because I grew up in West End and practiced law for almost 50 years in Birmingham, but I don't live in Birmingham. So when I say we, I'm talking about the universal we of Birmingham. So Birmingham's feeling like somebody's taking over their water.
Sure. But if you stop and think about that for a second, the last decennial census of the city of Birmingham was 196,000 people. We service 770,000 people, roughly.
You're talking about Birmingham?
Birmingham city limits, that's right. So there's a lot of people who weren't represented by Birmingham. When Birmingham had that much control over this board, there's a lot of people that were being overlooked on it. You get a regional board together, and now everybody's got eyes on it from all different areas. I do ministry work out in Fairfield. I've got a heart for Fairfield. I think it's just a wonderful place. I know Michael Trux's place is out there.
Still there. He's got an office here too.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Okay.
He's right beneath our feet.
All right.
Not all the time. But he calls this his Southside office.
Yeah. He is a great guy and a good lawyer.
Do you know they've had the same phone number in his office building for like 80 plus years?
Really?
He practiced with his father there, and his father's since died, of course, and that's their building. And that's back in the day when U.S. Steel and TCI and Coca-Cola was all out there. So it was a huge client base for them there. And things have changed over time. But that's an interesting thing you just shared with me.
Yeah.
But was that what you were going to tell me about Birmingham?
But when I first moved to Birmingham, after I moved out of the dorms at Sanford, I lived in Midfield. That's where I was. I was actually in Fairview, which is...
I'm a West End boy. I know where you're talking about. Well, Doug Jones, he's a Fairfield person.
Those are the folks that, in the story I was going to tell you, one of the ministries I help out there or support is a place called Hope Medical. It's right across from the park, right next to Restoration Academy. Two great doctors there, Tom Edwards and Ben Davidson. But every year they would, for all their patients, and all they have is Medicaid and Medicare patients. It's all they do. They would get together from Christian Service Mission a Thanksgiving dinner. And they had volunteers come in to take them to these people's houses and pray with them and give them food. My brother and his kids would come up from Jasper, and we would all do it together and take those. And one of those was, if memory serves, she was 82, a widow. And we go in there to take her this Thanksgiving, and she just starts having tears.
Oh.
And we'd seen that before, but that just breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Just breaks your heart.
That would
she
get
said,
me crying too.
I had no food. I had to pay for my prescriptions, and I had to pay for my water. And I still see her face. I'm sure she's passed on now. So backing up just a little bit, when Lindsay called me and said, would you do this? Her face came into my mind.
You're not counting Fairfield as Birmingham.
It is not Birmingham.
Because it is not Birmingham.
It is not Birmingham. But they're just as important.
Yeah.
So are the people in Midfield. So are the people in Hoover. So are the people that are just in the county.
In Aniana.
In Aniana. Well, I don't think we serve Aniana. We go.
Don't you have Blunt, St. Clair?
We go into Blunt. We go into
but not Aniana.
St. Clair, and we go into Walker County, believe it or not.
Okay.
But all those people need representation.
Right.
Not just 196,000.
So your position, and it's a valid one, is that the prior Waterworks Board was centralized in a way that did not provide for representation of those individuals we just spoke about.
It wasn't
specifically.
Yes, it wasn't designed that way. I'm not saying they didn't think of them. All right, yeah. I'm not attacking them on that issue.
No, I got you. Just that.
Just like I live in Inverness and Hoover. How do I know about people in Fairfield?
Yeah,
but I do. Just because I live in Inverness and Hoover doesn't mean I'm only worried about Inverness and Hoover. I'm worried about Fairfield as well, because that's the nature of a regional board. You've got to look out for everybody, all of your customers. By the way, they're not ratepayers. I hate that term. That sounds like they're a piggy bank that we get to go pick their wallet.
No,
whenever we decide.
They're customers.
They are customers.
We call them clients, but they're customers.
That's right.
It's the same.
And the sad thing is, they don't have a choice but to use us.
Yeah.
As Bill Morris, who sits next to me on the board, and as the Leeds general manager, Leeds Water Board general manager, he made this point quite clear early on. He said, all we do is sell water to people who have no choice but to buy it from us. That's all we do. We don't need fancy consultants. We don't need all this PR stuff. Why are we spending money like that?
Well, some say that the search, you weren't a part of the search.
I was not a part of the search committee.
Who was?
Those three that I mentioned.
They did it themselves.
Well,
There was a
recruiting agency, I think, that kind of did all the vetting and sent them the interviews for them to review.
But the full board never talked to anybody.
No, I talked to Jeff Thompson when Tommy said, hey, would you just talk to this guy and meet with him for a little bit?
That was after or before he was anointed.
Before he was hired. That's correct.
It's my word. Yeah. But you never had an opportunity to talk to anybody else.
No.
And did the board have discussion? Like when the motion was made at the meeting, was there discussion?
I think Jarvis had some discussion. I think Sheila had some. I don't.
Well, they're opposed.
Yes.
They were opposed,
they were.
but probably for reasons we've already talked about.
Sure.
Feeling left out or put out.
And I understand that. I understand their position. I'm not beating up on them for that.
Is there anything that has come out of that? Wasn't there some litigation being discussed? Do you know if that ever happened?
I think there was a lawsuit that was filed, but then it was dismissed the next day. Is my understanding.
So right now, nobody's suing.
No.
Yeah, I would say, and you would agree with me, in any conflict dynamic, the courts should be the last resort. Yeah. Would you agree with me?
Yes, I would agree with that.
I always say, don't bring government into your personal life before you call 911. Once you make that call, you can't uncall. Sometimes it's the right thing to do, but sometimes it sets in motion things that you don't have control over later, and you might regret it. I'm not trying to tell people not to call 911 when they're in distress or in an emergency, but even a hang-up will invite government into your house if that were to occur. So
I think you and I have practiced long enough that we know the upsides and the downsides
yeah,
of going to court. And it's never a fun experience.
except for us.
When we're getting paid. When we're getting paid.
Well, if I'm there, I'm getting paid. And shame on the lawyer that's not, except for those that are representing the oppressed and downtrodden. And I'm all about that. We're required, and I would do it anyway, to dedicate by our bar association rules a number of hours for what's called pro bono, and we all do that. And you don't have to go out and look for it. I mean, it comes to you. There are people that call that just need help. And if you hear their stories and you want to help them, I mean, like you, you like you wanted to help just Shelby County. So, I mean, that's not the same kind of dynamic, but you get calls from people that just want help, and it's not a monetary thing. You can't get paid for everything.
You've known me a long time, and what I do, particularly, we know each other from municipal courts.
Right.
'Cause I've been in Alabaster now since 2004. So 21, I'm in my 22nd year as prosecutor there. One of the ministries out in Fairfield that I work with from time to time is Urban Hope Community Development, with the Urban Hope Church out there. Alton Hardy is the pastor, PA. They take men off of the street who are homeless and young men. They give them job training and job skills. What naturally comes along with homeless men? Tickets in municipal courts.
Oh yeah.
And
Big
they usually
problem.
and they have warrants.
And you can't get driver's license, and you can't get cleared by ALEA to get a driver's license. Yeah, that's a big problem. But there's some agencies that are tending to that.
And Urban Hope Community Development, when they get in that situation, who do they call?
Jeff.
And who do I know? Just about every judge and prosecutor in the Birmingham, Shelby County area.
Well, and they all are okay with that.
Absolutely.
Because we had such an arcane system in the state of Alabama until, say, the last 5 or 6 years, where you didn't have a hardship license. And if you were poor and couldn't pay a speeding ticket, you got your license suspended until you paid that ticket. And that puts a stick in the spokes of your ability to do just about anything if you don't have a driver's license. I hate to say that. But back to the water board. What's on the horizon for the water board going forward? I know you had some litigation with your, I guess, former counsel. I think
Mark, that's all resolved.
He's no longer the lawyer there.
I think.
Are you trying to do things in-house? Sometimes I've recommended in-house counsel for things, because a lot of money gets spent on litigation.
Yes, the first thing we had to do was get a CEO. I mean, the statute requires us to have one. So that's the first thing. The next thing the statute requires us to have is an independent outside engineer. That is the person who reviews projects before they're greenlit by the board. It gives advice to the board about projects that need to be done, capital improvement projects.
Well, isn't that Arcadis?
Well, here's the issue. With an independent outside engineer, they can't do any of the work. They can't do the design work. They can't recommend who to do it.
They would be so they're the worker bees.
They are the ones who review it and say, yes, this is doable, and this is needed.
It was represented to me once that God makes it rain, and the rest is engineering.
I've not heard that before, but that's a good statement. So the next thing we'll do is hire that group, and they'll be the ones that kind of advise us what projects need to be done, but they can't design them, they can't participate in them, they can review the status and make sure they're on track, but they cannot do any of the actual work.
Are y'all in the process of interviewing someone for that position?
We did an RFQ for that. We had 3
You got to talk non-board speak. Request for proposal
That's correct.
is an RFQ.
Well,
a
request for qualifications is an RFQ. Request for proposal is RFP.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You got to speak acronym.
I also represent most of the housing authorities in the area, and
They got some.
You talk about it, they got them.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
But we had 3 responses to that. They're being reviewed right now in-house at Central Alabama Water. At some point, we'll all want to get together and interview them, either singly or one-on-one or as a group, and figure out, who is best suited for that challenge of that.
What kind of budget does the Waterworks Board work with?
Good question. It's a couple $100 million. Okay.
Coming in.
Yes, and going out.
Yeah. Well, I operate under. Well, you probably got more going out than coming in. I don't know.
We're you say that because I just got my first budget and I'm in the process of reviewing it.
That's why you went to law school.
It's to trust somebody else to.
Well, math. We're never strong in math.
Yeah. If I could have done math, I'd have gone to med school. That's for sure.
That's what I say. But as Red Jones, who used to be a Supreme Court justice, taught me in the late 70s, early 70s in law school, he came into a law and accounting class, and he drew 2 lines on the chalkboard, and at the top of one he wrote paid in, and then the next column he put took out, and then the third column he put left over. And quite frankly, that's really all you need.
Yeah.
The same would be true for math.
Yeah.
Which explains why calculus was the only class I've ever failed. I mean, why would I need to know that? If you can balance a checkbook, I think you can get along pretty good in life.
Yeah. just in general, that's a true statement.
So y'all are working with $200 million in revenue.
Yeah, I think that's about
Annually.
right. Don't hold me to that number, but I think that's about right.
Well, that's a good bit of money.
It's a lot of money.
And does the CEO manage that budget in conjunction with probably staff members?
Yeah, I was going to say the CEO and the board or the staff put that budget together and then go over it with the board, and the board adopts it because it becomes policy.
Right.
Becomes a policy that we're going to stay within these bounds. For instance, as a municipal lawyer, I know a lot of bid stuff. I know how bids work and how they should work. And as a city attorney, I often have to review bids. And it has troubled me when I've seen a lot of just single bids. There is no reason we should have single bids at Central Alabama Water. None. There are plenty of people out here who can do this work. So something's driving them off or scaring them off. So that's the number one thing I look at when I see that. But this last board meeting, we had a bid that came in. There were 4 of them, and we took the lowest responsive bidder, which is what we're supposed to do. But the estimate was $98,000 of these meter boxes. Okay, it's just for a 2-inch pipe, a meter box, about $1,000 a piece. And I looked at the history for the last 5 years of what we've bought in meter boxes. And I didn't ask the question, David asked the question, but I was going to ask the question. Why are we budgeting $98,000 for this? Why are you saying out-of-pocket expense to the Central Alabama Water of $98,000 when we've not spent over $25,000 in the last 5 years? Why is there a $98,000 number right there?
But that's in the budget. And what did you get an answer to that question?
They're looking at it because this was in the changeover period. They're trying to figure out how those numbers got in that way. Because there's no sense in having that like that. It inflates a budget and allows for things to be moved around without notice. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Especially in light of the concerns expressed by state of Alabama public examiners.
Yes.
That we'll be reading about the next few days, I suppose, starting today.
Probably starting today.
Well, I think a lot of people were grumpy about the way the CEO got appointed and felt like it was not as transparent as it could have been or should have been. You've already expressed you didn't know it was even going on. Or you might have known it was going on.
I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't know it wasn't going on, because we all talk to each other about where things are and what's happening, what the progress is. Because my concern and David's concern was we're being asked to do capital projects, but under the state law, it requires a CEO's recommendation. And when you don't have a CEO, who's making that recommendation? So we're just trying to figure out. Let's
Were you even curious about why the CEO was told, if in fact he was told not to come back, has now come back? I mean, to me, I would want to know the answer to that question if I were in your seat.
Yeah, I think you ask good questions, Tommy.
I'm just a lawyer.
Not my story to tell. Okay.
Okay.
It's just not my story to tell.
But there is a story. Should I ask him? I'm happy to have him as a guest if he'll come on.
Yeah.
I may go there next year as we continue our trek. We're sort of global, Jeff. We didn't know we would be global, but we found ourselves being listened to in South Africa and in Australia. And those people are probably not listening right now because they cut off when they heard what we were talking about. But how often do y'all meet?
Usually twice a month. We may have some special called meetings.
That's a lot, really.
It is a lot, but there's a lot to be done too. And you got to realize, I'm new to the water industry.
So you got to learn all the acronyms.
Yes, there's a lot I've got to study.
For sure.
If I'm going to make an educated vote, I've got to study stuff.
Similar experience with the airport authority. It's a whole different universe, learning the business of waterworks, the business of airports. There's a lot of regulatory stuff that goes on from government agencies that you have to comply with. And a good CEO is the person you turn to for the guidance on how to cast your vote when it's vetted by the people in the trenches, literally and figuratively in the waterworks world. You'll notice right down the street from my office, there's some waterworks work going on. If you tried to turn up Arlington, you can't. There was a big pothole, and underneath the pothole was apparently a cast iron pipe from probably 1876 that had gone bad. I would think there's a lot of bad pipe.
There is, and that's one of the things we've got to look at is, and I think that's one of the concerns that I heard some of the people in the legislature express was there's really no replacement plan in place for some of this pipe that's 70, 80 years old, 90 years old in the ground, and it's rated for like 35 or 40. Yeah, so you're going to have breaks.
That's why you have a pothole.
That's why you have a pothole. That's why you have breaks and a lot of lost water. Yeah. A lot of lost water.
Well, we have, fortunately, even though we've been in a drought, we have, except for, I forget when that was, but it was prior to 2016, we were in a serious drought where people were like crawling around their yards in camouflage to water their
doing it at 10:30 a.m.
at night, or face. I think it was like an ordinance violation or something.
I remember there was I was involved.
I was the judge in Vestavia during the time. I said, "Oh gosh, I've got to deal with somebody who watered his yard at midnight. That's a crime."
One of the other things we've got to look at is automatic read meters. Meters that automatically read. They have
automatic systems. From where? From some central database?
Well, it all goes to a central database, but it also, the implications of that and implementing a program like that are huge. Number one, our customers can see daily how much water they're using. because it's uploaded continuously, how much water they're using. We can see if there's a large spike in water use somewhere, somebody may have a leak. We can call them and say, you got a leak.
Yeah, they do that in Baldwin County.
Yeah. And if you have a broken line, with the way you do those sensors, you can figure out where your broken line is.
Is there discussion amongst the board, and we're going to have to wrap up here in a little bit, but is there discussion about the board, amongst the board, with partnering up with maybe the power company and some similarities between their meters and your meters? Or
there are, my understanding
seems like I heard something about that once upon a time.
There are 3 different types of systems that are available. Looking at the best one that's best for our customers is something we're going to have to look at and figure out. We don't have proposals in yet on that. Mm-hmm. Alabama Power wants to put one out there. They're welcome to. I've heard that they can do that as well. But there's others. I think Spire, their system can work.
Yes.
There's several of them. And we just got to put out a proposal and see.
We're antiquated.
We're way antiquated, and that's got to change. I mean, our customers deserve to know what's going on.
Yeah,
they deserve to know what their actual water usage is, and be alerted quickly if there's a problem.
Well, so thanks for your time today.
Absolutely, thank you for inviting me, Tom.
They have just my listeners have just heard the real truth, as I like to call this show. And we'll let you get your feet wet, no pun intended, and we'll have you come back and maybe report progress that has been made in putting out the fires. You know, it reminds me of taking a case that some other lawyer has handled, and you're coming in behind them. I don't really like doing that because I always feel like the person that used to follow the elephants from the train station to the arena with the broom and the shovel. There's some parts of me that feel like that's what CAW has been handed, a broom and a shovel, and asked to fix this problem or clean it up.
My hope and prayer is a year from now, you don't have me back because we're so boring. Okay. We're so boring that your listeners would say, I'm not going to listen to that.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you for joining me today on The Real Truth. My name is Tommy Spina. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you will follow or subscribe to my podcast and listen in to the next episode. If you found it valuable, please take a moment to rate it and review it. It helps us to reach more listeners that care about the issues that matter. Share it with a friend. Stay engaged and remember, the truth matters. I'll see you next time.